So as we start Chapter 8, Search and Rescue, we go from mining over to engineering because we actually want to get Russo's rig from over in the engineering, in the engineering department past the engine room. But since I have a stasis on the wall here, I'm just going to fill up really quick. If you can get a free stasis refill, then by all means do it. And past where we get the flamethrower here, we'll have a level 3 locked door. If you can recall, we got the flamethrower from the guy hanging on the wall here. So we're going to go through the growth area over to the right, where we will have a level 3 door, which contains Russo's rig. So we go inside here, be prepared to be jumped as soon as you grab Russo's rig. And there he was faking it. Thought I'd go up and stomp to check, but a few more shots later and he's gone. So that'll be the only thing that we need from engineering. Just a little bit off the path to grab Russo's rig, that way we get the master key later. But we don't have to cancel Russo's log or anything. It doesn't block doors, it's just an optional pickup. I just happened to grab it whenever I was grabbing the rig. So we're going to work our way out of engineering. Since I did use stasis again, I'm just going to grab another quick refill because it's free.
Maybe where it's warm and dark. Ooh, that makes sense.
Exiting zero gravity.
But do be prepared to get attacked while you're doing this side quest here, because things can spawn if the director wants them to. But other than that, we're going to get on the tram and work our way towards the bridge. Which, if people have been paying attention, we actually have a side quest there, where we will need to get Nicole's report. But then that'll send us on another mission out towards hydroponics. Whenever we go to the bridge, we get the report from there, and then it tells us that she's going to investigate hydroponics. So we have to go back to hydroponics to do that as well. And here, this is just one of the scripted tram events. Nothing ever attacks you on the tram, so don't ever worry about it. It's just something to spook you. Occasionally you'll have a stop, and the narrator will tell you, oh, something unexpected or unauthorized use of vents, something like that. And the tram doors will open ever so slightly to make you think that something will pop in, but it never does.
Now arriving at the bridge.
And of course, we get another video call that locks the doors on us. If you look down here, this is actually the rig that we need. Besides Comm Officer Bailey's, which we will get in this chapter, we need to grab Tram Supervisor Benson's there, and that'll be the last two that we have for the Master Key. But Kendra just tells us that there's a ship hailing us, so we need to fix the comms array to be able to talk back to them. And that lets us know that Comm Officer Bailey's rig is available to collect now since we're on his chapter. So here, since I know I'm going to go into a fight on the bridge whenever I enter, because you go into a quarantine lockdown, I just grab some extra health to make sure that I'm ready for it. Which, as soon as you hit that trigger, there's exploders that'll come out. As said before, always prioritize them, as they are the most dangerous and deal the most damage. And they will send a lot at you here. So I kind of cut off their way of approach with the firewall, and then use the exploder to deal with the necromorph that's stacked up with him. And again, they send more exploders here. They send a lot of exploders in this room. It's probably one of, if not the most exploders that you'll get in a section. But other than dealing with them as a priority maneuver, just deal with the other necromorphs as they come. First come on the exploders, but any other necromorphs, just whenever you can. Exploders take priority. But here I'm just taking full advantage of the fact that I have two very powerful crowd-controlling weapons in the Force Gun and the Flamethrower's Firewall. So you can actually cut sections of the field in half, so you don't have to worry as much. And we can grab all of those cabinets and stuff over back on the wall, but first I grab the bridge report here, which is necessary to continue on the premeditated malpractice.
Weird feedback spikes on local comms.
What's wrong with the comms array is spreading?
No, that's not it. So, the door to communications should be open.
So I grab the report, but then I start heading down. I kind of forgot that I need to go back, so I will end up going to hydroponics to grab the stasis first. As you can see, it just popped up because we exited the room, so you don't need to come down this elevator, just go back towards the stair hallway. This was just a little bit of an oopsie from me. So I saw the side quest pop up, I immediately go back up to the first floor. But this will be the end of getting our prototype stasis unit, which will make us basically invulnerable from being piled for the rest of the run. As I've said previously, it's probably the most valuable asset that you can have on higher difficulties. It's definitely overpowered, in my opinion. So, if we can grab it, we might as well. And the entire process doesn't take us too far off of the path, except for probably the first part where we have to drag the hunter's tissue sample to the scanner in medical, and then find his ICU bed. That's probably the furthest we go off the path, which is about 3 rooms worth, so even still, it's incredibly worth it. And you can track the objective. I do recall where it's at, so I just kind of look while the tram is loading. Since we have time to, if you're in the tram, you can reload weapons, you can switch inventory slots, anything like that. It's just free time that you can use efficiently.
Now arriving at hydroponics.
And you can never be attacked in the tram, so don't worry about anything popping in on you. But we're going to head our way back into hydroponics. We actually need to go to the console room in between the 2 atriums. So we're just going to beeline for that. This is about the furthest off the path that we need to go, but since we get the prototype unit at the end of this, it's automatically worth it. And here we get attacked in the Elizabeth Cross warning message room. I've been attacked by many different configurations of things in this room, so just be ready whenever you see it. And if you do wait to get the prototype unit, you can actually wait until you get the master key to come back here. But we also have this level 3 door whenever we're on our way, so we just pop by and get that. And it gives us a semiconductor and a node, so we're going to grab both of those. Since it's right on our way, there's no point in not doing that. But we'll just work our way up this elevator, and then into the atrium, and work our way up to the 2nd floor to go to the console room. And from there, a previously locked door will be open, and then we can just go through it. I'm not sure why stuff fell from the ceiling there. So, I didn't get attacked or anything that I'm aware of. Not sure why stuff just decided to fall, but it did. I did take a spike just in case something did decide to spawn up here, but apparently it just threw stuff at me. Which, I can still use the spike because there is a scripted pregnant. I'm not actually talking about the one that I just poked there. There's actually another one, but this room the director just sent some stuff my way. And it took me forever to grab the spike off of the pregnant on the wall, so... And then I picked up his body instead of his spikes. So I just ended him with a shot. Again, the kinesis doesn't want to work with sometimes. But as soon as we go towards this door, there is a scripted pregnant. The console room that was just prior is not scripted. You can just get enemies there. But this guy is always here. And there is a power node over to the right here. So we want to grab that as well. And I don't believe there's anything else in any of these rooms except for that power node. But at the end here, we want to grab this prototype unit. It's basically the only thing we care about, but as you can see now, whenever we stasis things, it delivers an electroshock to whatever we stasis. And it actually melts flesh and brittles limbs. But if you want to complete the side quest, it doesn't really matter, but you can pick up the node that'll continue on Harris's and Mercer's mission. It actually finishes the premeditated malpractice, but if you pick up that node that's in, or the log that's in the room with the prototype stasis, it'll end the mission. It doesn't really matter if you do or not, you don't get anything after you pick up the prototype stasis, so that was all we cared about. But it's just letting you know that Harris ended up his final transition into the Hunter. He still has some mild form of intelligence, but at the same time he's lost all of his humanity essentially. So now that we've got our prototype stasis, we're just going to get out of hydroponics. In fact, we'll never be back here. So we just wait for the acid sprays. They always go in an order. We're not really concerned. It's pretty easy to dodge them. But since I picked up some extra nodes in this chapter, I'm going to go to the workbench just to overview everything. So we got 2. We still don't get weighted blades yet. We need to continue on with chapter 8 in order to get those. So I kind of preemptively thought about that and just decided to save my nodes. But this will be the chapter where we get weighted blades, which, if you don't know, makes your melee swings have a chance to knock down enemies, which is probably one of the better upgrades in the game, just because it allows the plasma cutter its own form of a CC. And here we'll sell our semiconductors that we got. I have a ton of health right now, which I don't believe I'll need, so I move over. And then I keep the secondary stasis because I'm empty currently. So I'm prepared to use one of those if needed. And I do buy some plasma cutter because I was running low. And here I just like to pull out my force gun because I always anticipate something being in this hall. I tried to grab a spike off of the other guy, but it failed. So I kept grabbing his body, and then eventually grabbed his spike. So it ended up working out. The force gun just is invaluable for clearing way and giving you space to work with. So I always use it at that effect. But here we're just going to make our way back towards the bridge. Again, you can't be attacked on the tram, so don't worry about it. If you get any scripted events like a stop or anything like that, it still won't attack you, it's just to spook you. But it's a good time to manage inventory, swap around weapons if you want, prepare for anything. But I don't think I stated with the prototype stasis unit, whenever you pick it up, it automatically replaces the regular unit, so you don't need to worry about equipping it or anything. It will just automatically make your stasis into the upgraded one. So now we've always got electroshocks on our stasis, so anything that's caught in the blast will be stunned along with being slowed, which is incredibly invaluable whenever it comes to later. It actually saves me a big hit in Chapter 12 whenever I get Exploder a little too close to me. So it is worth it, by all means, having it even this late. Especially whenever stuff gets sent to you and you need to save ammo. If you have stasis on the wall, it can empty an entire room on its own. And a lot of people think that it's not effective against the final boss or any bosses like Leviathan or Hivemind, but it can actually solo them as well. And it actually causes a skip in the Hivemind's phases whenever you use stasis. But here we have some Guardians. You can choose to use the stasis on them, which will one-shot them. I just opt for the flamethrower, because I have a bunch of flamethrower fuel. But there's one, the other's down. And since I left the pulse rifle upgrade in the fuse room to our left, I'm gonna go get that and the cabinet in here that we can open. So there I picked up the pulse rifle upgrade, which is another power node, increase my stasis back to full, grab this cabinet which has a bronze semiconductor. If you wanted to use the input code for the break room now, you can, which you can get a hidden log there, you can get some text that involves Danik from Dead Space 3, and you can also get 2 nodes. So if you wanted to do that, you can. Here I just like to clear the way for later. I just move this stuff out of the way, and then I wanted to check if this would trigger this guy or not, but he's apparently tied to after you do the comms array, so we just go into the level 3 security room here. And again, you can be attacked in these rooms, so always be mindful. But now we're going to work our way towards the comms room. And we want to stop at the left first. I move up first just to grab this. But we want to stop on the left here because this is Comm Officer Bailey's rig sitting on the desk. And he also has a decent chunk of money behind him. So we grab that. I do save just really quick. Again, saving is kind of just optional on Impossible. If you do or don't, it doesn't really matter, considering if you go down or die, you don't really continue. But there's money under there, and then this other level 3 door, which we go inside and grab everything. There's always a ruby semiconductor in this locker, so it is worth it to go into this room. But now, we didn't activate the jump scare in the main room, but there are enemies in here, which are all enhanced, so be aware of that. There's going to be 2 leapers and 2 lurkers. And since we have the updated stasis, we can just hit them on the wall, and they'll be forced to stand there until stasis is worn off. Because of the stun effect, it makes it where they basically just spasm in place. It's especially good if babies are being kind of dicks and not wanting to fire, because it does force tentacles out of the enemies. But here I was just kind of looking around for a spike or anything. Even if you think your kinesis doesn't do a whole lot of damage, the bodies and other stuff that you throw at enemies will still damage them. It doesn't do a ton, but if you want to save the little bit of ammo, then you can. As for the comms array here, the way that it works is the panel in the center that shows you the connections you want to start from there and then make a line into the ceiling.
No gaps.
It there's 2 places at the top where it can actually flow into, or 3 places at the top where it can actually flow into. If you see the triangle kind of at the top of the room, so you see 3 lines going into the ceiling. We want to hit one of those lines with what we have for the antenna. And since I know I'm going to need to go to that spot, I just work my way from there over. But we start with a L bend going upwards, so we want to find a bend going over to the right, like upwards to the, or not up to the right, up to the left. So that's what I'm looking for right now, and you can see it right there. So now I'm going to take that whenever I get all the rest of them. I like to kind of grab them and align them in a way where I can see everything that I've got. Just makes it easier instead of going for the room. But here we take the upward left elbow, and it doesn't exactly want to slot in at the beginning, but now I know I need to get in up to, or from the right up, so I grab that, and then I need one that bends up to the right. So you just want to complete the circuit with the bends that you have, and that's basically it. You start from that central panel and work your way up to one of the lines on the ceiling. So I just show exactly how I did it.
I think you got it. Try opening a channel to the Valor.
It's not so bad, it's just getting all of the stuff in order. They do give you some extra antennas to work with, so you'll always have a few extra, but it usually takes a minimum of about 5 to complete the puzzle. And here there is a log involving Matthias at the table there, but again, we're not really here for a story, so we just ignore it. But now we get a call from the Valor.
This is USM Valor, broadcasting on all frequencies to USG Ishimura in response to your SOS.
They had the unfortunate time of picking up our escape pod,
Route to your position.
which, if anybody remembers from Chapter 3, wasn't a good time.
Escape pod.
Oh, fuck. The pod Hammond jettisoned. It had Chip. That creature was inside.
No. USM Valor.
And we do need to wait for these calls to be over in order to open this door, so
Her signal isn't strong enough.
you can't just go running out.
Long-range antenna?
No, something's blocking the blast doors over the comms array. The hell?
There'll be a manual release over at maintenance. I'll go. Keep trying to reach them.
So yeah, our long-range antenna isn't working, so we need to go find out what's blocking the array. But you'll have a guy jump out here once you pass the vent in the ceiling, so be prepared for him. I try and grab the fan, but I keep getting this box, and then his arm. So I eventually just say screw it and attack him, and then finish him off with his own arm. Here we just have a few things to pick up in this room. Power node on the wall, which we do grab. That sticker glitching out on the wall over there, don't know why. Whenever you're going on this tram, just pay attention to the right because there will be a material that you can kinesis off of the wall. And also the spooky guy up in the rafters there for some reason. Not really sure who the hell put that guy there, but he's there. But then there's a semiconductor down in the pit here, which we grab. And now we're prepared to face off against the Divider, who has his first appearance here. And they do ignore flame walls. It does work well on their body parts, and I usually like to go with a combo of gravity well to suck them into the flame wall, but I was a little late on it. But just know that certain enemies do completely ignore the fact that the flame wall exists. But after you deal with the Divider, make sure to stomp his main body as well as the head, because both of them do drop bits. And this elevator isn't safe, there's always a scripted necromorph that pops out of it. So just hit the door, it'll stay locked for a second, and then he'll pop on out. But he's easy enough to deal with. And now we get our final plasma cutter upgrade, the weighted blades, on the bench in here. So we are going to use that to our advantage. And here I just sell all the semiconductors that I had. I moved some of my flamethrower fuel to storage because I had a bit much. I do move some of my stasis into the storage. Honestly, I probably should have moved some of the force energy as well. Now that I'm looking at it, I had 2 full stacks in a bit. But I do buy a node because we have a workbench back here. So since we have the weighted blades, we also got another node. So I do take them back to the workbench here, so it'll get the weighted blades out of my inventory, as well as we can upgrade the plasma cutter from this point. And I did have the pulse rifle upgrade there as well, so I can fully upgrade our plasma cutter. So now our plasma cutter is fully decked out at Chapter 8. We don't need to worry about it anymore. So our plasma cutter is sitting pretty good. And another caveat to the way the benches work is, if you have, say you have no ammo in a clip, and then you upgrade capacity, it will actually fill your clips. I don't really use it a whole lot because I always forget about it, but it is an option. If you find yourself really low on plasma cutter, like say I had 1 shot and go to the bench and upgrade the capacity, it would have just given me 23 shots for free as soon as I upgraded a capacity node. But here we try and activate the long-range antenna manual release, and it lets us know, hey, we can't open because there's an obstruction, which, yeah, there's a pretty big damn obstruction out there, so we're going to have to clear it off. Instead of being the slug like in the original, it is now the Leviathan Part 2. And if anybody remembers the original slug fight, I'm not too upset that they changed it, because now we aren't playing old school Defender, we're just actually in the fight instead of a janky turret. But we'll clear out all these lockers, grab everything from here. If you forget it, don't worry about it because we'll be right back in. I decided to save right before the fight, so it's not a tough fight, as long as you just know what you're doing and be on the lookout of where he's gonna tentacle swipe, which is about the only things you need to worry about. Maybe the pod launches that he does, but those are about the only 2 that'll really get you if you aren't paying attention. So we start off, we grab this cannon and start blasting at him. You see these tentacles come up and appear in your face, just start boosting to one side, they'll miss you. But then just use the cannon. Here I just opt to fire some of the plasma cutter to deal a little bit more damage. You don't really need to. You can do this entire fight without shooting a shot, in fact. So we finish off the first one, just start making your way over to this tentacle over on the right. Shoot it before you get to it because it will contain your O2. But as soon as you see him plant his tentacle in the wall, just start going in the other direction. It'll go in a straight line across the ship, so just go to the other side that it's coming from, and it'll miss you. Now he'll start launching these pods at us, but as long as we keep strafing left or right, they'll miss us. The tracking on the cannon kind of goes to them sometimes if your reticle goes over them, but just keep firing as normal. The pods are a non-issue as long as you keep moving. And my recommendation is, as soon as you clear this part, grab more O2. But whenever you destroy one of the giant main pustules, it'll destroy your cannon, so you need to continue on to the next one. And these spores, they are just randomly in your path, but you just have to find the hole in them and then fly. So, simple as that. And this tentacle, whenever it does destroy, or whenever it goes across the ship, it will destroy the pods. So, whatever path it clears, just follow it. And we destroy the pustule there to get access to our AD cannon. I grab more oxygen off the wall before it decides to attack. And it did start winding up there, so it's a good thing that I still kept strafing. And here, because I know the lower section of this area is safe, I try and stick as close to the ground as I can, because the tentacle actually took out all of the pods down here. But since he destroys the cannon, we just opt to fire at him with our plasma cutter. Like I said, you can use the pods to fire back at him and never fire a shot in this section, but it's just quicker to use your plasma cutter on him.
Do it. I've got a transmission loaded and ready.
I'd rather save the health than save the ammo, because as far as pricing's concerned, health is a lot more expensive than ammo, especially plasma cutter.
Exiting zero gravity.
But yeah, there was no real concern in that fight. We lost a single point of health because we took a spore, but that's a non-issue. So here we activate our long-range antenna, but we end up having a real shit show whenever the Valor ends up being completely taken over. And Chin says hi. I don't know if you ever notice in this, but rigs don't really work except for main characters. So most rigs just stay either completely dead or completely full. It's kind of a weird quirk. You'll see it work with Hammonds in Chapter 9, but a lot of the other guys, it shows them as either dead or fully alive. It's kind of odd. But yeah, we're ending Chapter 8 here. It was actually a shorter chapter. So as soon as we fly into the Valor, that'll be our Chapter 9.
By the time another ship hears the SOS beacon,
But
we'll all be dead.
we don't really have a whole lot left here. We just beeline to the Valor's open,
Log says that it's missing its singularity core.
the open hatch that we need to go into. So, other than that, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think, and have a good one.
Where's the Valor now?
It's near comms.
Keep us stable. Isaac, I'll grab a suit and EVA onto the Valor. Meet me there. We'll find that core together. Let CEC clean up their own mess. I'm saving what I can.
Entering vacuum.
Isaac, I'm on board. The Valor's trashed, but I can make it to the bridge. The hell was that?
Exiting zero gravity.
Exiting vacuum.